The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. Have you ever thought about why some people consistently achieve their goals, build strong relationships, and seem to move forward in life no matter what challenges appear? It almost feels like they have some kind of secret formula. But the truth is much simpler than most people think. Their success usually comes down to one powerful factor: their habits. Think about your own daily routine for a moment. The way you start your morning, how you respond to problems, how you spend your free time, even how you think about yourself. All of these small actions repeat day after day, slowly shaping the direction of your life. Most people underestimate how powerful these repeated behaviors really are. The reality is that our lives are not built by a few big decisions. Instead, they are built by hundreds of small decisions we make every single day. When a person chooses to learn instead of scrolling endlessly, to stay disciplined instead of giving up, or to take responsibility instead of blaming others, those choices slowly begin to compound over time. Weeks turn into months, months turn into years, and suddenly, the difference between an average life and an extraordinary life becomes very clear. What makes highly effective people different is not that they are smarter or luckier. It is that they follow certain principles in their daily behavior. Their habits guide their thinking, their decisions, and their actions. While many people react to situations emotionally or impulsively, effective individuals build habits that allow them to respond with clarity and purpose. Another interesting thing about habits is that most of them operate almost automatically. After repeating an action long enough, it becomes part of your identity. You no longer need to force yourself to do it. It simply becomes who you are. This is why habits can either work for you or against you. If someone develops habits like procrastination, negativity, or blaming circumstances, those habits slowly create a life filled with frustration and missed opportunities. But if someone develops habits like responsibility, discipline, learning, and respect for others, those habits naturally guide them toward growth and success. The powerful idea here is that anyone can change their habits. No matter where you are in life right now, your future can shift the moment you begin replacing ineffective behaviors with effective ones. And once you understand the habits practiced by highly effective people, you start seeing life from a completely different perspective. Have you ever noticed how 2 people can face the exact same situation, yet respond in completely different ways? One person immediately starts complaining, blaming circumstances, or waiting for someone else to solve the problem. The other person, however, calmly looks at the situation and asks a simple question: what can I do about this? This difference in thinking represents one of the most powerful principles of effectiveness. Highly effective people understand that they are responsible for their own choices. They don't allow their emotions, other people's behavior, or external circumstances to control their actions. Instead, they choose how they respond. Many people live their lives in a reactive state. When something goes wrong, they blame their boss, their family, the economy, or bad luck. Their mood depends on what is happening around them. If things are good, they feel good. If things go bad, they immediately lose motivation and energy. Over time, this mindset makes people feel powerless, as if their lives are controlled by outside forces. Proactive people think very differently. They understand that while they cannot control every event that happens to them, they can always control their response. This simple realization gives them a sense of personal power. Instead of focusing on problems they cannot control, they direct their energy toward actions that can actually make a difference. Imagine 2 students preparing for an important exam. One student spends most of their time complaining about how difficult the exam will be and how unfair the system is. The other student simply accepts the challenge and starts preparing seriously. Months later, the results clearly reflect the difference in their attitudes. Another important concept here is the difference between the circle of concern and the circle of influence. The circle of concern includes all the things people worry about: politics, the economy, other people's opinions, or unexpected problems. But the circle of influence includes the things a person can actually affect, such as their effort, their skills, and their attitude. Reactive people spend most of their energy worrying about the circle of concern. Proactive people focus their attention on the circle of influence. As they continue taking responsibility and acting consistently, their circle of influence slowly grows bigger. This habit may sound simple, but it is incredibly powerful. The moment you stop blaming circumstances and start taking responsibility for your actions, you begin to take control of your life. And that shift in thinking is often the first step toward becoming a truly effective person. Have you ever thought about where your current life is actually heading? Most people wake up every day, follow the same routine, handle whatever problems appear, and then repeat the process again tomorrow. Weeks pass, months pass, sometimes even years pass, and suddenly they realize they were moving forward without any clear direction. Highly effective people do something very different. Before they start building their life, they first decide what kind of life they want to build. In other words, they begin with the end in mind. They understand that every action we take today is slowly creating the future we will eventually live in. Think about an architect designing a building. Before the construction workers start laying bricks or pouring concrete, the architect creates a detailed blueprint. Every measurement, every structure, every space is carefully planned. Without that blueprint, the building would be chaotic and unstable. In the same way, our lives also need a blueprint. Many people never create that blueprint for themselves. Instead, they allow circumstances, pressure from society, or the expectations of others to decide the direction of their lives. They chase goals that may not truly matter to them, and over time they begin to feel lost or unfulfilled. Beginning with the end in mind means taking a moment to step back and ask deeper questions about your life. What kind of person do you want to become? What values do you want to live by? How do you want people to remember you? These questions may sound simple, but they have the power to completely transform the way you make decisions. One powerful way to understand this idea is to imagine attending your own funeral many years in the future. Imagine family members, friends, and colleagues standing there and talking about your life. What would you want them to say about you? Would they describe you as someone who was kind, responsible, and inspiring? Or would they simply remember you as someone who was always busy, but never truly fulfilled? This exercise forces you to think about the legacy you're creating every day. Once you have that vision in mind, your daily choices begin to change. Instead of reacting to life randomly, you begin making decisions that move you closer to the person you truly want to become. When you clearly define your destination, your actions gain meaning and direction, and that clarity becomes one of the most powerful forces guiding your life forward. Most people believe that being busy means they are being productive. Their days are filled with tasks, messages, meetings, and endless responsibilities. By the end of the day, they feel exhausted. Yet, when they look back, they realize they didn't actually move closer to the things that truly matter in their lives. This happens because many people spend their time reacting to urgency instead of focusing on importance. Highly effective people understand a powerful truth about time. Not all tasks are equally valuable. Some activities bring long-term growth and progress, while others simply consume time without producing meaningful results. The key to effectiveness is learning how to recognize the difference and then organizing your life around the things that matter most. One helpful way to understand this idea is through a simple framework that divides activities into 4 categories. The first category includes tasks that are both urgent and important, such as dealing with crises or meeting critical deadlines. These tasks demand immediate attention. The second category includes activities that are important but not urgent. This area includes things like planning for the future, learning new skills, building relationships, exercising, and improving yourself. Unfortunately, this second category is the one people often neglect. Because these activities don't demand immediate attention, they are constantly postponed. People tell themselves they will start exercising next week, begin learning something new later, or spend quality time with loved ones when they are less busy. But later rarely arrives. The third category includes tasks that are urgent but not very important. These often appear in the form of interruptions, unnecessary meetings, or other people's minor problems. The fourth category includes activities that are neither urgent nor important, such as excessive entertainment or mindless distractions that slowly waste valuable time. Highly effective people focus most of their energy on the second category, important but not urgent activities. They plan their time carefully so they can work on things that create long-term results. Instead of waiting for problems to appear, they prepare in advance. Instead of reacting constantly, they act intentionally. This habit requires discipline because it means saying no to many distractions that appear urgent but are not truly valuable. It also means protecting your time so that you can invest it in growth, relationships, and meaningful goals. When people learn to organize their lives around what is truly important, their productivity improves dramatically. They stop feeling controlled by endless urgency and start directing their time toward things that actually shape a better future. One of the biggest reasons conflicts happen in relationships, workplaces, and even friendships is because many people believe that for them to win, someone else must lose. This way of thinking creates competition, jealousy, and distrust. Over time, it damages cooperation and prevents people from building strong, lasting relationships. Highly effective people approach situations with a completely different mindset. Instead of seeing life as a competition where only one side can succeed, they try to create solutions where everyone benefits. This way of thinking is often called the win-win mindset. A win-win approach means looking for outcomes where both sides feel satisfied and respected. It is built on the belief that success is not limited and opportunities are not scarce. When people cooperate, share ideas, and respect each other's needs, they often create solutions that are better than what either person could achieve alone. Many people unknowingly fall into other patterns that damage relationships. One common pattern is the win-lose mindset. In this situation, a person focuses only on their own success and tries to dominate the other side. Even if they win in the short term, the relationship often becomes weaker because the other person feels defeated or resentful. Another pattern is lose-win. This happens when someone constantly gives up their own needs just to keep others happy. While it may avoid conflict for a while, it eventually leads to frustration and loss of self-respect. There is also a situation where both sides become so stubborn that they refuse to cooperate at all. This creates a lose-lose outcome where neither side benefits and the relationship suffers. The win-win mindset requires maturity and confidence. A person must value both their own goals and the needs of others at the same time. It is not about being weak or giving up what matters to you. Instead, it is about searching for solutions where fairness and mutual benefit exist. For example, in business partnerships, leaders who practice win-win thinking build trust and long-term cooperation. In friendships and families, this mindset encourages open communication and respect. People feel valued rather than controlled. When individuals adopt this habit, their relationships begin to change dramatically. Instead of constant competition and tension, they create an environment where people support each other's growth. Over time, this approach leads to stronger connections, better teamwork, and opportunities that simply cannot exist when people focus only on winning for themselves. Communication is one of the most important skills in life, yet it is also one of the most misunderstood. Most people believe they are good listeners, but in reality, they are usually just waiting for their turn to speak. While someone else is talking, they are already preparing their response, judging what they hear, or thinking about how to prove their own point. Highly effective people approach communication in a completely different way. Instead of trying to be understood first, they focus on understanding the other person deeply. This habit is built on the idea that real communication begins with empathy. Empathetic listening means trying to see the situation from the other person's perspective. It means paying attention not only to the words they say, but also to the emotions and intentions behind those words. When people feel truly understood, they naturally become more open, honest, and willing to communicate. Many conflicts happen because people rush to give advice before they fully understand the problem. Imagine someone sharing their frustration about a difficult situation at work, and before they even finish explaining, the other person immediately interrupts with solutions or criticism. Instead of feeling supported, the person feels ignored and misunderstood. Effective communicators avoid this mistake. They listen patiently, ask thoughtful questions, and try to understand the feelings behind the message. They give the other person the space to express themselves completely before offering their own thoughts. This approach may seem simple, but it creates powerful results. When people feel heard and respected, trust begins to grow, conversations become more meaningful, and misunderstandings are reduced dramatically. Another important part of this habit is balancing understanding with expression. Once you truly understand the other person's perspective, you can communicate your own ideas much more clearly. Because the other person already feels respected, they are far more likely to listen to what you have to say. In families, workplaces, and friendships, this habit transforms the quality of relationships. Instead of constant arguments or defensive conversations, people begin to cooperate and support each other more effectively. Mastering this habit requires patience and genuine curiosity about others, but once it becomes part of your communication style, it becomes one of the most powerful tools for building trust, solving problems, and creating meaningful human connections. Great achievements rarely happen because of one person working alone. Most meaningful progress in the world comes from people combining their strengths, ideas, and perspectives to create something greater than what any individual could accomplish by themselves. This principle lies at the heart of one of the most powerful habits of highly effective people. Many people see differences as obstacles. When someone thinks differently, comes from a different background, or approaches a problem in a new way, it can feel uncomfortable. As a result, people often try to prove their own viewpoint is right instead of exploring the value in someone else's perspective. Highly effective people do the opposite. They see differences as opportunities rather than threats. They understand that when individuals with unique experiences and skills collaborate openly, they can generate solutions that are far more creative and effective than anything one person could design alone. This idea is often described through the concept that when people truly cooperate, the result is not simply 1 + 1 = 2. Instead, 1 + 1 can equal 3, 4, or even more. The combination of different ideas produces results that multiply rather than simply add together. For example, in a successful team, each member may bring a different strength to the table. One person may be highly analytical, another may be creative, while someone else may be excellent at organizing and executing plans. When these strengths are respected and combined, the team becomes far more powerful than any individual working independently. However, true collaboration requires trust and open-mindedness. People must be willing to listen to different viewpoints and accept that their own perspective might not always be the best solution. This mindset allows teams to explore possibilities they might never have considered before. In workplaces, synergy leads to innovation and stronger problem-solving. In friendships and families, it encourages cooperation and deeper understanding. When people stop competing and start collaborating, they unlock a level of creativity and progress that cannot exist in isolation. Learning to appreciate differences and use them constructively is a skill that takes practice. But once people embrace this habit, they begin to see that diversity of thought is not something to fear. Instead, it is one of the greatest sources of strength and growth available to any group or relationship. Communication is one of the most important skills in life, yet it is also one of the most misunderstood. Most people believe they are good listeners, but in reality they are usually just waiting for their turn to speak. While someone else is talking, they are already preparing their response, judging what they hear, or thinking about how to prove their own point. Highly effective people approach communication in a completely different way. Instead of trying to be understood first, they focus on understanding the other person deeply. This habit is built on the idea that real communication begins with empathy. Empathetic listening means trying to see the situation from the other person's perspective. It means paying attention not only to the words they say, but also to the emotions and intentions behind those words. When people feel truly understood, they naturally become more open, honest, and willing to communicate. Many conflicts happen because people rush to give advice before they fully understand the problem. Imagine someone sharing their frustration about a difficult situation at work, and before they even finish explaining, the other person immediately interrupts with solutions or criticism. Instead of feeling supported, the person feels ignored and misunderstood. Effective communicators avoid this mistake. They listen patiently, ask thoughtful questions, and try to understand the feelings behind the message. They give the other person the space to express themselves completely before offering their own thoughts. This approach may seem simple, but it creates powerful results. When people feel heard and respected, trust begins to grow. Conversations become more meaningful, and misunderstandings are reduced dramatically. Another important part of this habit is balancing understanding with expression. Once you truly understand the other person's perspective, you can communicate your own ideas much more clearly. Because the other person already feels respected, they are far more likely to listen to what you have to say. In families, workplaces, and friendships, this habit transforms the quality of relationships. Instead of constant arguments or defensive conversations, people begin to cooperate and support each other more effectively. Mastering this habit requires patience and genuine curiosity about others, but once it becomes part of your communication style, it becomes one of the most powerful tools for building trust, solving problems, and creating meaningful human connections.